The Magical Vacation series is a very strange cast of games with very fascinating and intriguing stories to tell. In this series, we'll be talking about the many varieties of events that happen on each different type of planets. Ladies and magicians, put your tinfoil hats on, because this is Magical Mysteries. During the course of Magical Starsign, you are tasked to obtain the only material the dwarves on Raisin can help craft your ship to head to Nova, the material known as the Millennium Gummies, which has the elements of fire, water, wood, earth, and wind, and it's your job to go back to the previous planets and obtain said gummies. The game tells you in which planets to go to, but you are able to do this any order as you please, as long as it starts with the fire planet. If you have done every order as intended, you would just finish Gren, the wood planet, and once you're done with the events of that area, you notice a Phelan interacting with a spiny mole. The Phelan says the mole needs to go back to Erd, so you take him back and you notice a new village has opened up after your first visit. It is called Rio Villa, inhabited by machines. After a little exploration, you'll find yourself standing in front of an elevator that requires a passcode to access. After talking to a robot on the top floor, you get the code and find a very interesting supercomputer. It explains how the creation of gummies were made and how robots function on their own. And after exiting the house after viewing said entries, Mocha does not leave the building with you. Mocha's battery has been depleted and needs to be charged at the Kahave ruins, the place where you found the rocket for the first time. And after heading to the top of the ruins, you find yourself at a very fascinating sight, a basement full of gummy shapes of people. Rogue and Josh, a friends you found on Raisin, explains that these were the people of the Espresso Civilization. The Espresso Civilization is definitely a video worth talking about later on, but I'll explain one thing here. Rogue and Josh says the Espresso mass-produced robots that automated them for the task of making gummies, and this was the result, and some say the Espressos met their doom at the hands of their own creation. The robots turned them into gummies. He mentions a few other things, like how robots depend on the gummies for extensive battery life, but all those things are in future videos. But moving on, you recharge Mocha's battery and you can leave this area and obtain the Millennium Gummy. However, keen players will notice two additional floors once they've entered for the first time. Once at the top floor, you'll be able to interact with a pod of sorts. Once interacted with the pod, the mysterious figure emerges, proclaiming, "Help me," before a battle engages. After the fight, she says, "Thank you. Now I can sleep," before disappearing and giving you the access card, which can be used to the supercomputer back on Rio Villa. And this is where the story really begins. Dr. Calzone asked me to fly over to Erd. This place has absolutely nothing. I can't believe civilizations once flourished here. It's a lot different than Buffoon. I look up to the sky and I feel like I'm going to be sucked up. It's almost like I could fly away here. The Mulls are trying to communicate with me, but I don't understand a word they're saying. Stupid Calzone insisted I talk with the moles. He's definitely overestimated my psychic abilities. I'm no psychic slouch, and I still can't communicate with them. I hear Dr. Calzone's group has begun working on a project to make robots fully automated and autonomous. Robots are already running wild everywhere. Is it really safe to let them run rampant? I understand it's their 4-year plan to improving robotic AI. 4-year plan? That means I can't go back to Buffoon for 4 more years. AI Ribbit Ribbit Alpha completed. The performance figures are off the charts. Dr. Calzone started the beta version, but he's bummed because management hasn't given him the green light. I'm getting worried about him. PSI capacity amplification test. Tables have been turned. Dr. Calzone used to make fun of PSI abilities, but no one doubts their potential now. I wonder if the test will go well or not. Some people were excited to see ashes and flower petals falling, but they wouldn't tell me what had really happened. That makes me a little sad. Looks like they brought in more technicians again. They've also brought in a load of PSI techs. Do they have a clue that they're conducting tests on twisting and bending space? I'm not so sure. I don't quite get what the techs are thinking. In other news, I hear people and money have become scarce back home. I wonder if my folks are doing okay. Dr. Calzone is acting weird. He says he'll send me back to Buffoon soon. I hope he's not just saying that. You see, when we decided to send me here, I said goodbye to my parents as if it was the last chance I would say it. I've got to mention this, but I don't think the moles want us here. I'll sit down and get their story if I have more time to go out. AI Ribbit Ribbit completed. It's Dr. Calzone's pride and joy. I hear it could use PSI abilities. What's left now is to wait for approval back home to start mass production. I had a dream this morning. I left my body and flew over to Buffoon. I saw my parents there, but I cried a little when I woke up because they didn't notice me. Fifth warning from the brownies. Dr. Calzone is totally depressed. This is probably an ultimatum. Either leave the planet or cross swords with the brownies, but that's not something Dr. Calzone or I can decide. A day filled with accident. Dr. Calzone has been gone for a while. I guess the plant is undergoing a major renovation. I'm spending the days testing my amped PSI abilities. My own abilities have been on the rise too. I used to be an average girl back on the Wind Planet, except, for my telekinesis skills. That made me a little weird, but now I can move battle tanks with my mind. I don't know how I feel about it. Time to start packing. It seems we'll abandon the plant for now. They say the brownies are about to launch an all-out attack. I see several rock giants watching over the plant. Will the plant fall to the hands of the brownies? I'm happy to go back to Buffoon, but I don't want to leave some weird grudge behind. I'll be back here anyway. What would be the point of being able to move a battle tank with my mind back on Buffoon? I'd be a circus freak. Help me, Dr. Calzone. The robots are here. Dr. Calzone, where are you? You are logged in, right? I smashed 8 of the latest models. I'll wipe them out again if they show up. How many are there? Dr. Calzone, anyone, please, come quickly! And with that, it cuts abruptly, leaving only 12 entries and many questions. So let's go back and make the story more simplified. A young woman named Applepie, who has telekinetic abilities, is tasked to help on Earth to help a scientist named Dr. Calzone to help out with the project. What she overhears is a 4-year plan to increase the robot's intelligence to function on their own without people controlling them, while Applepie's job is to communicate with the moles underground. As progress continues, the multiple scientists start to use PSI. More days pass, brings more scientists, and Applepie hears that Buffoon, money, and people come back fewer and fewer. Dr. Calzone says that he would bring her back home to her family, acting like something bad's about to happen, and it does, as the brownie race to cease production, unless they would cross swords. On Diary 11, she said she's going to depart due to the plant being shut down for renovations. But before she even have a chance to depart, the robots go on a rampage after Applepie is asking anyone's help fending off the machines. And that's the simplified version, but again, there's still many questions that needs to be answered. First, we have to understand where this is all located, but where on Earth. We know that Applepie was staying at Rio Villa. Just to the left is the wall that lies the spiny moles, of which her task was to communicate with them. But hold on a second. During the course of our adventure, we encountered moles of the time, and they could speak perfect English. So why couldn't she understand them with telekinetic abilities? Well, notice how the spiny mole civilization is structured. They live inside a hole where we get to see shops and inns located. We also can assume that this is just natural evolution at play. But how? Well, they have access to many books and many different types of items. How did they get them? Well, I think they got them from the remnants of what was left of the plant after it was seemingly destroyed. We see spiny moles guarding 3 treasure chests containing shoes and hair clips. You could argue that they tried to buy some nice kicks at your local Walmart, but I don't see hair on that body. Why would they use a hair clip? Why would they need a hair clip? We could also figure out where the plant was located before the incident. The first place you go after dealing with business down the Cahave ruins, you'll find yourself at the ship's graveyard. A long, barren stretch of land with dusted up roadways, tipped over ships, but most importantly, a buried building what looks to be near some nuclear plants things. This place is also near a power generation system to bring power back to Earth, a place called the Land Where the Stars Sleep. We can even distinguish what time period this is. We know it was before the events of Magical Starsign, and we also know it was before the events of the Espresso civilization. But because Applepie claims, I can't believe a civilization once flourished here. We also know from page 11 that she could see several rock giants watching over the plants. Now we know in the present time, we can know that there's only one rock giant, Tectos. What Tectos says when we're inside of him is that he's the last of surviving stone giants out there, out of 9 others. When Applepie says several, that can't just mean one. You'll damn remember seeing multiple giant stone titans walking over a power plant. So we can also decipher from all of this is Dr. Calzone was threatened by the brownies, and Calzone's group didn't listen after being threatened by them. The stone giants destroyed the plant and the area surrounding it, leaving the moles underground to feed off the remains of what they could scavenge underground. We know the giants destroyed the plant because A, we see the brownies inhabiting the giants, and B, although robots have lots of power to them, I don't think they have the power to literally destroy a chunk of the planet. Notice how Earth is surrounded by giant stone pillars all across the planet to not fall off the side, except for the ship's graveyard. You see sand falling into the stars. So they just destroyed the landscape that they're on. We can even talk about Dr. Calzone. I've been avoiding talking about him extensively for a second because we really don't know who he really is. But what we do know is that it must be close to Applepie's family, because I don't know if a parent would trust a random doctor just to go off to a different planet to investigate robots if they weren't just a close friend. Maybe an uncle or something? But we can easily figure out what happened to him. During Chapter 9, he said he was threatened by the brownies after a 5th time, so it wasn't the first time that he was threatened. And after Diary 11, 10, and 12, we know that he mysteriously went missing, leaving the plant to be shut down for quote-unquote renovations. And I know where this is leading to. Dr. Calzone was assassinated by the brownies, leading to the robots going on a rampage due to probably not having a distinct leader around, and eventually leading to the death of Applepie, trying to desperately call for help. Rated E for everyone's getting killed tonight! And finally, we know the fate of Applepie from the hands of the technique of crystallization, The supercomputer, when not logged in as Applepie, explains here, quote, "Dark magic energy can convert moisture and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere into gummy molecule change. These vaporized gummy molecules dissolve quickly in carbonated water. When light magic is pressure applied to the vaporized gummy molecules, they form an organic tissue and begin to crystallize. Natural gummies mainly nucleate around the microbes in natural organisms. When they crystallize, crystallization properties can change according to the core, and atypical ones behave like living organisms. But what's most terrifying is the next thing of how gummies are made. Human life forms with magical abilities make the best crystalline nucleus for an artificial gummy. Human life forms with magical abilities seems awfully similar to our telepathic friend, wouldn't you say? We can also go back to what Rogan Josh says to the runes about how a former simulation made the robot process for making gummies and how the robot turned on the civilization and turned them into gummies. And the robots are powered by the gummies they consume. And when they run low on power, they search for more proper materials through the robots to power themselves back up. So we have a gummy making robots low on power without guidance from a scientist to start hunting for new materials. And what materials is around? Humans to transform into gummies. But one final question lies in wait. We see all the gummies' bodies are visibly dead here. Why would the gummy girl be able to barely speak and fight? Well, one detail to notice is that the item that she drops once you claim victory, a sage string, which when equipped not only increases your EXP, increases your IQ, intelligence. She had a working brain, and from her last strand of clothing. Once you remove the string from her, her mind can finally rest, and she can finally die. Not to be suffered in a giant vat of gummy goo, dying slowly, and just like the dream she had in page 8, she finally left her body to see her parents for one last farewell. So that is the Gummy Girl story, a tale of research, destruction, gummies, and death found all inside one little access card. There's still more questions to be asked, like who are the expressionless civilization? Why did Rogan Josh know all this? And better yet, why was the main villain, Kale, be able to replicate this so well? All that and more, and probably in the next episode of the series. I'm sorry for not covering every little bit of this lore in one video. That would take too long. I want to break this up and make this into a lot more in-depth lore. The Gummy Girl was just this one that I really found interesting. So if you want to see more of that, click the subscribe button for more magical mysteries in the future. I also have a Twitter and Instagram account. I don't post on there much, but if you want to, I can. Have a good day.